Familiar Wilson's Media. Relationships are the story.
You are made of meat, my friend, all the way down.
The following podcast uses words like and also. If you're not into any of that shit, then now's your chance.
3, 2, 1.
Run.
Super familiar with
Welcome to Super Familiar with the Wilsons. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Josh. Amanda, you want me to tell you the first time I saw a naked woman?
No. Yes, fine, sure. I think I know, though.
Do you?
I actually do know this story.
We were over at our neighbor's house. I had to be, I don't know, like maybe 8 or 9.
Like Winthrop's age.
Yeah, or maybe younger. Oh, gosh. Yeah, probably 8 or 9. And now that I'm thinking about this story and envisioning him in it, it gives a whole new flavor. I'm over at the neighbor's house, and this is neighbors that I grew up with, and we spent a lot of time over there.
We being you and your dad?
Yeah, with the family. And I was swimming that day, and they had a bathroom right there off the pool deck, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go in there. I go in there, and boom, there is had to be mid-20s, adult child of, those neighbors. They're coming out of the shower. Like, what do you do at that point? I'm 8. I don't know. All I know is that I've done something really bad.
Oh, no. Why did you think it was bad?
Because naked. You're not, no naked. No naked. It was even the 70s, and I knew no naked. And so I immediately turned around and jumped back into the pool and stayed under the water for longer than I thought I could. And then no one spoke of it again.
No, you never talked to this woman about this?
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? No.
So, wait, you were 8 and she was like 25? So that means she's 17 years older than you. So she's like 70 now.
Yeah.
Do you think you should call her up and be like, do you remember that time that this happened?
No, I think that we need to stop this right now. But I do want to talk about neighbors today.
I've never seen a neighbor naked.
Well, that's good. That's very good. I'm sure that most people out there who have crazy neighbor stories probably couldn't say the same thing. But I often wonder if, like, whatever has been set as my ideal woman had initially, like, if that had been imprinted upon me.
I don't want to know what she looked like. Do not tell me.
Okay.
Because I don't want to know if I fit that or don't fit that. So we're just going to move right along.
Did you know your neighbors growing up? And I don't mean
Yes.
in the I've seen them naked in the shower type of way. I just mean them in the did you know them growing up?
Yeah. I only lived in 2 houses. So the first memory that I have of the house, it was like when I was like 3. And that's the house that we had the alligator in the backyard.
You mean like as a pet?
We had a pond and there was an alligator in it. And the fish game
Okay,
people
so there
had
was
to
no
come get
fence.
it. No,
Okay,
just
go ahead.
pond. And there were like 3 houses on this property.
Right.
And then the neighbors to the...
Wait, what do you mean 3 houses on the property? You lived on a compound? Was it a cult?
No, I mean, I'm sure they were individual lots, but it was like 3 houses around this pond, 2 in the front and 1 in the back. I lived in one of the ones in the front. Our neighbors to the left of the house, they were an older retired couple. And I just remember them being very sweet and very like grandparently toward me. And they had a German Shepherd named Sheila. So I know that you didn't mean dog neighbors, but I'm going to talk about this. This dog would come and sleep under knew which bedroom mine was and would sleep under my window every night. The entire 2 years that we lived there because she was very motherly with me. And we'd go on walks and we would walk past orange groves and there would be people in the orange groves working and she would switch between going from between me and the road to between me and the people. She was very motherly. So that was a great neighbor dog. And then when I was 5, my dad worked in construction, building supplies, but he basically generally contracted the building of a house. And I mean, my dad lived in that until he had to go live with my sister. That house, they were there for a very long time. It is the only real house that I lived in for 20 something years that I remember. And those neighbors, I had neighbors across the street that I played with. We had neighbors directly across the street that had a pool that they let us swim in. And then the neighbors next to them had Dobermans. See, dogs are in all my stories. But these Dobermans scared the mess out of me because I was little. And Dobermans are tough looking dogs, right? And their names were Manda, which didn't help because they would be out there yelling Manda and Mega. And I remember walking out into the garage one day and they're both just standing there like the twins from The Shining, in my garage.
Like Zeus and Apollo from Magnum P.I.?
Just terrifying. Yes, terrifying. And I mean, they were probably perfectly fine and were not going to hurt me. But I think my mom had also created this fear in me, like, these are big dogs, we leave them alone. So those were my childhood neighbors. Yeah, I remember. I mean, I had, like, we played. And then I tell you about my one neighbor that lived behind me. She was selling, you know how when the children go out selling candy to fund band trips and stuff, and they ring the doorbells, and I got these candy bars. She asked me to do that with her. So I was out walking the neighborhood with her, and we got to the back of the neighborhood, and in the very back of the neighborhood was a sheriff's officer, and he had a retired canine, and the dog was just laying down in the front yard, but not leashed, not fenced. She went up to the house during the doorbell. I stayed at the foot of the driveway, and it was a pretty meandering drive, and nobody answered. And about halfway back down the driveway, the dog was like, all right, I'm done. And we were maybe in 6th grade, and he got up and started walking. And so then I just took off running, and she started running after me, and she was yelling for me to wait. And I was like, no.
I'm faster than you.
I don't have to outrun the dog. I have to outrun you. Yep. I'm not, no waiting. No waiting will be happening. And then we ran for quite a bit, but then somebody's trash had spilled and the dog got distracted by the trash. So,
are you saying that the dog would have taken you out otherwise?
We were on his property. He didn't like it.
I don't want to talk about neighbor dogs, weirdly.
But I have lots of dog stories.
I do want to talk about neighbors because we have a situation here in our neighborhood. It's not a situation. It's just how it is. So we moved in at COVID, right in. So everything was locked down. We weren't getting to know people or whatever. And now we have a situation where we don't really know our neighbors.
No.
Growing up, I knew most all of my neighbors. I was trying to remember all of their names. On one side, I had the Walthers, the Udies. Interesting, the thing about the Udies is that their son was a minor celebrity in the Miami area because he saved a woman getting accosted on the side of the road.
Oh.
He got the crap beat out of him as he was taking this woman over to his car. So them, and then the Seymours, which is the aforementioned naked lady, and the Fraziers, which the father, Frazier, was the head coach of the baseball team for a while. And then on the other side, we had the Goebels, the Lewises, the Helmkamps, the Ventimiglias, I don't remember their name, but they had a daughter called Marcy. So, I knew a lot of my neighbors.
I don't know any of their names. I know all the dogs' names. I think I like dogs better than people.
I think that is so. So I knew a bunch of people growing up, my neighbors, and we don't have that now. And I wanted to know whether that was unique to us or whether, in general, people don't happen to know their neighbors now. And so I asked around, and interestingly, our friend Antonio from the Cultworthy podcast, amongst others, says it's really weird in my state as it's Mormon country. Pretty much every other house on my street are non-Mormons, and we know each other and give each other Christmas cookies and whatnot. Our kids play, walk to school. The Mormon families are nice, but they don't reach out and they don't community with us. Mormons tend to stay away from most non-Mormons in Utah.
Because you will tempt them with your Christmas cookies.
Is that what it is? Or you just try to steal their holy underwear? Josh Scar says, I barely know the older couple to the north of my house. And by barely, I mean the husband's name is Jim, which I thought was Bob for about 4 years.
I really want you to have been calling him Bob. That's so good.
And I've no clue what his wife's name is. We lived next door to each other for 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think that's ever happened. I guess has happened. We had a crazy neighbor in the last house we lived in, and it took me a while to remember her name.
Well, her name was a very unique name, though.
She was a very unique lady.
She was super unique.
We were on a cul-de-sac. We were the last house. She's one of these people who would put you off knowing your neighbors, though.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, well, I've tried that. I'm not going to do that anymore.
But she was like a dichotomy, though, because she would buy toys for Winthrop, but then also came over. Do you remember when she came over and accused us of killing all of her puppies?
No, I've
Again, dogs. Why do I have all these dog stories?
Wait, remind me of this story because I don't remember this at all.
Well, she didn't accuse, but she inquired if we did. So,
oh, how do you slip that into conversation?
She just came up because I had taken the 18-year-old over to see the puppies because she was 8 at the time. And the woman's dog had a litter of puppies, and we had seen the puppies. And then she came over, saw me in the yard one day, and came over and said, "Did you or Josh happen to put poison on the yard or like weed control. I'm like, nope, we don't tend to the yard. That's like, and she's like, oh, well, we woke up this morning and all the puppies are dead. So she thought we had poisoned her puppies.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, our friend Matt tells us that they live in a neighborhood that's like all the houses are suburban stamps of each other, same school district, HOA run by residents. There's just a ton of opportunities to get to know each other. My kiddos could walk down our street and knock on any door for help and would be able to know who they are talking to. And I said, gosh, that must feel so safe. And he's like, yeah, especially with all the kids going to the same school district. I mean, that sounds lovely, and that's what one would want, especially for your kids, that feeling of safety.
That does sound lovely. And this whole neighborhood is zoned for one school, or one elementary school, one middle school, right? But part of the issue here is, one, our HOA is not run by our neighbors. It's run by the building company. So they don't do anything to organize anything because I think they're afraid that they will organize against them. We built the house in 2000 no, not 2000. 2020, and we were the last house to complete before COVID, and so it's just a lot of stalled construction, a lot of unfinished property. The people who lived here before COVID all were on one street and had formed a relationship. Then we moved in, and we haven't had that opportunity. But you also don't like it when I try to talk to them.
No, what are you talking about? I always send you out to talk to neighbors.
You never send me out to talk to neighbors.
I tried to send you out this morning to talk to the neighbors.
I went and talked to the neighbor, and you were in there going, come on. We'll be walking down the street, and people will stop to talk, and you tap me on the back like, go, go, go.
More often than not, I have to pee.
Well, that is not my problem.
Well, it could be a problem. You're sitting there talking to a neighbor, all of a sudden there's this warm feeling on the back of your leg there.
No. So if you want to create community with our neighbors, I will be more than happy to attempt. I think you're upset because they've all now started playing pickleball in the road. So our houses, we have garages in the back, so we have alleyways that face each other. And the neighbors behind us have set up a pickleball court, and then they all come out and have a tournament. And I think you're just jealous that you don't get to play pickleball.
I don't know if you've met me, but for you to accuse me of wanting to have more physical activity. But I am interested and intrigued by this thing. Is this phenomenon that we're experiencing, is it just a Wilson thing? Are more people feeling this, and is it due to the pandemic or the state of the world or this and that? You held the phone up to me. You have an update?
Well, I have an update from the plants. Our good friends Mark and Rachel. Mark and John do the 100 Things We Learned from Film podcast. John speaks in Scottish on our podcast. Sometimes you don't understand what he's saying. And I asked if they know their neighbors, and Rachel responded and said, we know our direct neighbors, but not any others. We've only lived there 18 months, and it's mainly because Planty insists on talking to everyone.
So he's the Amanda in that relationship.
So if Mark and I lived in a neighborhood, we'd know everybody, and you and Rachel would be very happy just to be inside.
Yeah, that's right. But see, here's the thing. I want the benefit of like hanging out with a group of people and having the luxury of just being able to be there and experience it. Yeah. I love that. I love watching people. I love listening to interesting conversations. I'm naturally an introvert, and so we're not shaming me for that. That's why I love being in big groups.
Yeah.
Not because like I need to be the center of attention, but because I just like that energy.
I had a really good neighbor relationship in the house that when Muffy was born, and before you and I were together in my previous marriage, we had a house in a neighborhood that was up and coming. But this was like we built the house in 2005. So I think, this was way before a pandemic. Had really good relationships with all of the neighbors. And, to like when my mom would come up and visit, she would go stay in the neighbor across the street's house, a retired lady who would quilt and make things for us. And then the neighbor directly, I had 3 different neighbors directly to the left of us, and each set of those neighbors were so incredible. One would sew clothes for Muffy when she was little. When I was pregnant with Muffy, there was a different family there, and I had morning sickness so horribly. And I was coming home, and I remember vividly, had gone to eat at a Cuban restaurant, had gone to a baseball game, a UF baseball game, and was driving home and almost made it and threw up in the car before I got home, all over myself. Pulled into the driveway, left the car running, left the door open, and ran inside and got in the shower because I wasn't like functioning well. And I was by myself. There was nobody with me. And
I figure no one, I guess, would steal the car. That's certainly
because I'd vomited all
a
over
good
it,
theft
right?
prevention system.
So when Muffy's dad got home, because we were coming home from the baseball game in separate cars, he found the car in the driveway and the neighbor next door with her wet vac cleaning it. She had seen me come home and came over to check and see if everything was okay, had seen what had happened and was cleaning the car for me.
That's very sweet.
It was very, very kind. And then the people who moved in after that, I taught her kids went to my preschool. She was super sweet. Anytime she would make a batch of margaritas, she would bring another pitcher and leave it on the front door and text me and say, I love you do something on the front door. And
okay, let me just ask you, these sound like all very one-sided relationships here.
No, it's kind of all them too.
Very good. Very good.
But I'm just telling you that like we had a really good relationship with them. But we would do like picnics in the backyard and birthday parties, and like we made an effort. And I thought about this. I don't think it's just that I'm older. I think it's like being worn down by the state of our country, being worn down by the pandemic. But like tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. We're recording on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I used to make the biggest deal about St. Patrick's Day. Remember when we were first married? I turned the house upside down.
But you also took the gene test and found out that you weren't Irish like you thought you were.
No, I am like 5% Irish.
Right. But I can say that some of your enthusiasm has probably been sapped by that.
But I was laying in bed this morning talking to Winthrop, and we were talking about St. Patrick's Day. And this week is spring break. Like they don't have school. I still have to work, but I'm doing that from home. But I was thinking, I should have him make a leprechaun trap, and then I could do all this stuff. And I was like, I don't have the energy. And that is sad to me because I feel like he's getting like kind of like cheated out of things that our other kids got because we're old and tired. Yeah. And just worn down by society.
True. So get this, though. Recent surveys indicate a significant portion of Americans are not well acquainted with their neighbors. A 2021 survey reported that nearly 1 in 6 people didn't know any of their neighbors' names, with this figure raising to 26% among millennials. Additionally, a 2022 article highlighted that 57% of Americans know only some or none of their neighbors, with this share climbing to 72% among younger adults. These findings suggest that a considerable number of Americans have limited familiarity with those living nearby. A 2024 survey revealed that 65% of Americans admit to hiding from
That's you.
Hiding from their neighbors.
We have a neighbor you hide from, and you know you do.
And 48% interact with them monthly or less. Additionally, only 17% trust their neighbors with a house key.
Oh, yeah.
So this goes beyond people not knowing their neighbors to now inching into the territory
I don't trust my neighbors.
Actively avoiding their neighbors. Now, with the younger people, I wonder if some of that is due to the fact that they have less of a sense of ownership, less of a sense of place, because they rent, and maybe they're in apartments. And I feel like, I've lived in plenty of apartment living situations. The people they come and go. You don't really ever get to know your neighbors. And so I wonder if that's part of it as well. But it's significant to me because I feel this want to be a part of a local community. So this idea that we've talked about before of there being less and less third places. And again, for those of you not familiar with the term, a third place is that place that's not work, it's not home, it's that third place that you go to experience community, right? And those are going away.
Yeah.
Either we're being priced out of the experience, or less and less people are opening these establishments, or both, or whatever. And the hassle it is, since we don't live in a walking city, and we don't live in a city that has public transportation, we got to frickin' drive everywhere we want to go. No, I just want it to be here.
Yeah.
I want everything to be within reach. I want to go hang out with people. Let's just walk over there real quick. Even better if they'll come over and pick me up in some sort of like cart,
chariot,
or a cart, or wheelbarrow or something.
Wheelbarrow, wagon. We'll get you a wagon.
I have some pretty amazing memories growing up of neighbors. Now, also like pretty not great stories. My most embarrassing neighbor story.
Was not seeing the naked lady?
No. As an adult, right? It was my first apartment with my first wife, and they were nice, newer apartments, but we were on the 3rd floor, and it was like 6 floors. So people were densely packed in.
Did you have an elevator or was it all walk up?
It was all walk up.
Oh man, that's a New York style nonsense there.
No. I mean, but it was like all outdoor doors, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't interior apartment building. It was all exterior. So imagine taking like sofas and beds up and everything, and these stairs that do the, pivot, lot of pivoting.
Yep.
So we're in this apartment and, like I said, packed in. We always hear all of our neighbors and it just becomes a part of living. But for me, it does my head in because I hate noises, right? Well, one night, the people directly under us are having the loudest party. And when I say loudest party, I mean the music is turned up so loud that I am bloody shocked that no one else complained. No one else did a thing about it. But I was losing my mind. You know, I was so upset. And we had like police officers living in that building too. So like maybe it was like 10:30 and I am just livid and I don't know what to do. But also I'm dealing with my social anxiety where I'm not going to walk down there and knock on the door. Number one, because it's a social situation. But number two, I don't know if I'm going to get the crap beat out of me. So what do you think I did?
You called the police?
No.
You sent your wife down?
Nope. I
banged on the wall?
Well, again, it's the floor. I didn't. Like I didn't.
You jumped up and down?
I went directly to picking up the giant ottoman that we had over my head.
Oh my God.
And dropping it onto the floor.
Did it break through and go to?
It did not break through, but the music immediately stopped. Right?
Yeah.
Like I was filled with rage. Like it's one of the few times in my life where I could literally say that I kind of was outside of myself looking. And so then there's a knock on the door, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, who could that be? I go to the door, and there's a group of like maybe 3 or 4 people.
Were they? I hope they were just checking to see if you were okay.
Oh, they wanted to know what the deal was. And then I very quickly realized that my neighbors, the people standing in front of me that I had just accosted, maybe I broke some glass that were on shelves. Oh, they were all deaf.
Oh, no.
I felt this big.
Why were they playing the music so they could feel the vibration?
I do not know. Actually, come to think of it, like all I gave them was like extra percussion. They should have been like, "Wow, it's like the drums in the air tonight." That was pretty cool.
So then, how did you communicate with them?
I just very quickly said or tried to convey, "Could you please turn the music down, whatever," and then close the door as quickly as possible because I was mortified. Now, here's the thing. And this is, again, the mental and emotional gymnastics that my messed up mind does, right? Yeah. I twist myself, and maybe the reaction was unjustified just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was still right. You were in an apartment complex. Turn the damn music down. That's the worst neighbor I've ever been, but it's also in response to them being pretty bad neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah. I lived in an apartment when I first got divorced, and the 18-year-old and I lived in an apartment, and we were on the second floor. It was a 3-story thing.
But she wasn't 18 at the time.
No, she was 5. But I got complaints all the time from the downstairs neighbor because she would dance around and jump around and whatever, and these were clearly not made well. So that was an issue that we had to contend with, was keeping her from being a kid. And then the upstairs, this was the worst. The upstairs neighbors both worked at, I think, Domino's maybe, and it was a couple. They worked the night shift, but they had 2 dogs that they crated when they left, and the dogs barked all night long. And it was right above my bedroom, and she and I couldn't sleep because the dogs barked all night long. And so I was able to talk to them about it because actually they wound up being good neighbors because I left my keys in the deadbolt one night. And they knocked on the door and they're like, "Your keys are on the door." And I was like, "Hey, thanks. Also, your dogs bark all night long." And so they stopped crating them. And then that really helped. But apartment living is not for the faint of heart. It is difficult. Before we move on from neighbor stories, can I tell you like probably the most like still stuck in my head neighbor story of my whole life. I think maybe I've told you this. Again, the same house that I grew up in, that I walked outside and the Dobermans were there. I was in high school and I was going back to, like, I'd come home after school and I was going back to play rehearsal, and I walked out to go get my car, and I hear this noise. My dad had a riding lawnmower because we had a pretty big property, and I hear this like tinkering at the riding lawnmower, and I look over and there's a toddler climbing onto the riding lawnmower.
What?
So I just looked at him, and he just like looked at me and said hi, and I was like, okay. And so I went back inside and I was like, Mom, come here. So she came out and she goes over and she looks and she was just like, oh, is your name? And said whatever his name was. I mean, he's like 2. He's like babbling at her. She's like, yeah, I think he lives across the street. So new people had moved in across the street. And this was like a pretty major street. Like cars would come down like 50 miles an hour because we were at the front of the neighborhood and they were on the other side, which was not in the neighborhood. So my mom picks him up, carries him over. I go with her, and she knocks on the door, and the dad opens the door. Color drains from his face. And the first thing he says is, please don't tell my wife. So dad was babysitting
And
or
you
watching
said,
the child.
it's a deal, but here's my series of conditions from
Right.
now on.
And the child got out the front door, across this major road, and into, thankfully our garage was open and there was a place that he could be. And then I found him, but they got divorced relatively soon after this whole thing happened. So I don't think that he ever told her, but I'm saying I don't think it was the best relationship to begin with.
They were not destined for success.
No.
Well, there you go. Do you all have a story of your neighbors, maybe an embarrassing situation that happened to you, or just weigh in what I should do, what we should do to have more interactions with our neighbors here?
Yes, please. We need advice.
familiarwilsons@gmail.com. And even as we are asking for feedback, we've gotten more feedback from our friend Mark. He says, the lady in the house connected is mean and looks like Hoggle from Labyrinth. I'm going to show you a picture of Hoggle from Labyrinth.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Her dog keeps getting in our garden. He's a pain in the bum. He talks about the people on the other side. I'm going to take some names out here, though. A him and a her. She picks up leaves in the middle of the road and dries their car after it rains. She has a cleaning obsession. We assume she has problems, but is lovely and knows everyone that passes by.
I get drying your car after it rains because my dad used to do that. Like my dad did not like water spots on cars.
Did your dad have a chamois?
Yes, he did. Like this, and this was the thing. We washed the car every Saturday, and then I had to drive the car around the block to get like the first pass of water off of it, and then he would chamois it. I mean, like toothbrush on the wheels. Like maybe this is a bit where my OCD comes from, is my father. I'm now wondering. But he, like, I get that, but why are we picking up leaves from the middle of the road? Like, just, they're fine over there.
Yeah, I don't know. Only if you live in Disney World would that be necessary. Anyway, if anyone else has anything to say about your neighbors, let us know. Again, that's familiarwilsons@gmail.com.
What time is it? Game time!
All right, that music means it's game time. And an old standard here on Wilson's, Familiar Wilson's for Game Time is the Flashbacks quiz. This is where Josh is going to have to order things that have happened in history on a timeline. We're going to ask him to guess the exact time, but he doesn't miss points for getting that wrong. He just has to put it before or after the event that I gave him previously.
All right, so go ahead. How this starts then is you give me the first event.
Yeah, the first event is as smoke fills the city, Los Angeles fears a chemical attack. It turns out to be one of the first cases of smog.
Oh, the first case of smog in Los Angeles? Well, when did Los Angeles start to become a big thing? We're going to say 1950s.
Do you know I was this years old when I just realized that smog is a combination of smoke and fog?
Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda can learn.
Yay!
It's wonderful.
Okay, I just never really thought about it. 1943. So close. You're good. Okay. That's your anchoring one on the timeline. Ready? Now you have to decide if this was before or after smog. In the Champagne region of France, a Benedictine monk starts improving the wines at his monastery. His name is Dom Perignon, which, if you know, is a really famous and expensive champagne. Didn't know it was named after a Benedictine monk. I was going to say Benedictine monk. That's not correct.
Okay, let's say, gosh, I have no earthly idea.
Probably before smog.
Yeah, before smog, but I want to try to nail it down to a date. So we're going to say January 15th.
Oh, no, just years, friend. They don't tell me the actual dates.
1566.
1668.
Very close when we're looking at like the perspective of the universe.
All right. So, number 3. The BBC rejects several titles for its new TV comedy show. It wants something completely different, so the show becomes Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Okay, so we're going to put that like 1980.
I think it might be before then.
You think so?
1969.
You are kidding me. Well, I got that wrong. 1969.
No, but you still got it right on the timeline.
Yeah.
Just wrong for yourself. Okay. King Ferdinand starts the Spanish Inquisition. Even the Pope becomes alarmed by its power, trying at times to limit it.
When did the Spanish Inquisition happen?
Probably before Monty Python.
Yes. But again, this is one of these things that I should know. Actually, one of the most famous Monty Python sketches is this, no one expects this.
Spanish. Maybe this is why they're together on the timeline.
1550.
Okay, so before Champagne. 1478. So, close in there. All right. Amid a deep financial crisis in New York City, the designer Milton Glaser sketches a logo. It's inspired by initials carved in tree trunks. It is the I Heart NY logo.
Oh, that feels like 60s. Oh, God, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm going to get this one wrong.
Before 69 is what you're saying?
No. Oh, this is tough. I'm going to get this wrong. Yes, 1960.
1975.
God damn it.
Also the year I was born. Okay. The Arawak peoples first arrive in the Caribbean from South America. Their island cultures are the origin of words like hammock, guava, and barbecue.
Okay, so we're going to say 1500s.
Okay, so after the Spanish Inquisition, but before Champagne. Circa 400 BCE.
Oh, I'm not doing good.
All right. F. Scott Fitzgerald writes The Great Gatsby, partly based on his doomed romance with a socialite, Ginevra King. She was rich and he was not.
That's the 20s.
So it's set in the 20s, but did he write it in the 20s?
It's the 30s.
Let's see. Well, but you're saying it's before smog. 1925.
1925.
All right, 2 more. Ready? During the Song Dynasty, a commoner named Bai Sheng develops a novel way of printing books more efficiently using movable type. Do you know when the Song Dynasty was?
This one's bad. We should delete this.
No. This is staying with the people. They need to see that you're not perfect all the time. They need to feel that they can aspire to be like you.
We're gonna say 1000 AD.
1048.
Bam! I'm back, baby.
Nice. All right, last one. Ready?
Yep.
A child Patrick lands in Ireland. Did they throw him? That's just a funny sentence. A child Patrick lands in Ireland.
A child Patrick was brought to Ireland from Wales in slavery.
Oh.
And then he joined the church. And when he joined the church, he actually got the name Patrice, or was given the name Patrice. That's not his original Welsh name.
Believing that the Irish are just as human as the Britons, he becomes a missionary and later a saint. So when did Patrick... Yeah, but the word lands in Ireland is a little bit misleading. It's 1, it doesn't say anything about slavery. 2, it sounds like they catapulted him there.
They did. Again, it's a Monty Python sketch.
Right.
St. Patrick being catapulted over the waters. Now, do you know the answer to this?
I don't. I would make a guess that it's between 10,048 and 1478. It might be between 1478 and 1668.
I'm gonna say that it's between the first one and the second one. So
Between 400 BCE and 1048?
yes.
Okay. All right. Dropping it. And you are correct. It was the 400s.
Bam.
Nice. You're more Irish than I am.
Okay, but what's my final score?
You got 6 out of 8.
That's not good. That's
an 80%.
Yeah, no, that's not the Wilson standard.
That's a passing score, though.
No one likes to be told what to do.
And now is the time in the program where we tell you what to do. Amanda, what should we do?
Sit outside. I mean, if you're able to, if it's not freezing and or stifling hot, maybe you don't have some smog, but we cleaned up the backyard a little bit yesterday, cleaned up the front porch, and have spent some lovely time last night and this morning just being outside, listening to the birds and the wind chimes. And I think it's restorative. So my recommendation is just find yourself a spot to be outside.
Yes, and listening to the neighbors all having a great old time without us.
you. Yes. Yes, except that no. Did you stop recording?
No, I'm still recording.
Okay, except that you yell back. Just go ahead and tell them. They were out there playing pickleball last night and the guy was grunting, and you from the back porch within the privacy fence so they can't see you are grunting back at the man.
I did it once. It sounded like some sort of call. And so I was just responding.
Call and answer.
Because I did not want him to feel alone.
All right.
All right, Amanda, that's all there is. There is no more. The rain is starting to come down. We are under a tornado watch here in Florida, but, we're not going to get the worst of it. I saw the map, and we've got some really dangerous-looking red tornado areas in the Midwest, so, Of course, we were thinking about those folks. I don't want anyone to get hurt or have their property destroyed.
Tornadoes are terrifying.
Yeah,
so
no, it's not
sending
a
you
good
all
thing.
safe thoughts.
Yep, and we want to send thoughts to our friends out there who listen to us every single week. I can see you, and not in a creepy.
That sounds creepy.
Not in a creepy way, but I mean, I see the numbers coming in, and I'm just so happy that you all are joining us every week. Joining us, hopefully next week, will be Chris Barron, lead singer of the Spin Doctors. We're supposed to talk to him on Thursday, although he's very busy. And I remember the last time we were supposed to talk to him, I called him up. And he's like in a bar. He's like, "Oh wait, let me go home."
And he got on the train and went home so he could record. That's commitment. Thank you.
That's right. Couple things. Check out the Hey Try This podcast. That's a little show that I do where I talk about different wellness and as I figure through like emotional wellness and all this stuff. So it's really just my reflections in that. So if you're interested in a little 2 to 3 reflection on that sort of subject, then look up Hey Try This. Also, if you go to YouTube, the Familiar Wilson's Media channel, I'm doing daily poetry.
Yes, you are.
Daily poetry, like short little poems to brighten your day. Please do check that out. All right.
Friend Jeff really loved your poem about bald men. I think he identifies with it.
Yes. Well, me too. Anyway, so that's all this. And I'm not even asking you to buy anything. Right? This is all stuff that we're giving away for free. Amanda, what are you giving away for free? I'm pouring my life into like these things to provide for these people listening. What are you doing?
I mean, I'm raising our children.
Oh, for the world. Alrighty, so until next week, y'all stay safe and go say hey to a neighbor.
Be kind while you do it.
Bye.
Bye.